Good job today, man. It's one at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday night in scalding hot New Jersey, where it's like 95 degrees and humid as hell. Mr. Bubbs, long time no talk. Where the hell have you been?
How's it going, Tyson? Thank you so much for having me on. Finished up school. Actually, today was my last day, so officially summertime. And yeah, exciting time of year, but the weather this week is crazy. I was just outside earlier. You're outside for 5 minutes. You don't have to do anything. You're already sweating. I think tomorrow's supposed to be even worse.
Yeah, it's supposed to be real. Yeah, the whole week, I think. Now, look at your setup there, dude. You got a Bubbs sports thing there. You started out with the whole cool, the whole desk setup, and now you have this little official show. I mean, damn, man.
Yeah, these I've been working on it a little bit. This sign here I got from my birthday, and then this sign I got for Christmas, I think. So yeah, my friend actually worked on the logo, so it's pretty cool.
Dude, it's pretty bad. So how's your channel going, man?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, it's been fun following obviously mini camp and OTAs. Now it's kind of a little bit of the dead period, but training camp's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to the training camp, and hopefully this year's a really good season. Hopefully they win the division, gets the playoffs, do all the great things that we want them to do, because it's better for the content. So exciting year, exciting times for this team, definitely. And it's exciting for content as well. There's been a lot of years where we're talking about draft in October. So hopefully we'll be talking about, first round bye and stuff like that. Ideally, potentially, if you think about all the good things that this team could do this year.
I mean, it's just like this. I'm right here. This is what I'm thinking right here. Win the division. That's where you start. Yep. That is definitely it. When it's like, and that's where it's like last year was so disappointing on so many levels that this is an all-in year. Like there's no scapegoats, no excuses, no nothing, dude. It's like either win the AFC East, win a playoff game, or we're starting completely over next year. There's no more could have, should haves, maybes. Like this is it, right?
Yeah, 100%. There's it's fourth year of Saleh. Douglas, if you want to count, I guess 2019, technically sixth year, kind of fifth and 5.5 years. Yep. Count obviously 2020 being his first draft. And as long as everybody stays healthy, you don't have the excuse of no quarterback to fall back on. If this offensive line stays healthy, you don't have the excuse of no offensive line. And even if guys go down, you feel confident in this depth. You go out and draft Fashanu, obviously 11th overall, so you feel confident that if Tyron Smith would to go down, he can come in and fill in for a couple games. Even if Rodgers goes down for 2 or 3 games, you trust that Tyrod can maybe get you out of there at least 1-1, maybe 2-1, 1-2, kind of keep you afloat. This is a team that's had historically bad quarterback play, and Saleh's gone a pass for that. You now have a Hall of Fame quarterback. I don't care if Rodgers comes off a torn Achilles. Even if this guy is 75 to 80% of what he's been, that is going to be the best quarterback we've seen since the Fitzpatrick 2015 season, and arguably one of the best maybe this team has ever seen. I mean, on paper, this is I didn't experience it. I know you did, but on paper, this is probably one of the most talented teams we've seen since the Parcells years. I was 98 in that team, so no excuses. And the division too, it's most wide open, because you look at this Jet team, they most improved this offseason than anybody. The Bills lost Diggs, they lost Gabe Davis. For Miami, they lost a couple pieces. They didn't do a whole lot of adding. Neither team got significantly better. The Jets did. You brought in Mike Williams, you brought in Tyron Smith, you got Aaron Rodgers back in the fold, you got AVT coming back, you have the best cornerback room in football. So this team is, prime for at least 10 to 11 wins.
Bro, on paper, and I'll go to, on paper, they're the best team in the AFC East. And we kind of went through it pretty well. We're going to cover a lot here, but like the Bills took a step back in a couple aspects. The Patriots, complete rebuild. Dolphins, whatever we are. The Jets' biggest upgrade is the quarterback position. You can say, yes, Tyron Smith, yes, Hassan Reddick. They were winning with horrific quarterback play. Like one of the worst quarterbacks in football, and they were trying to win games with that. Now to saying, I could say Rodgers could be top 10, top 12. Doesn't have to be the old school MVP Rodgers. Top 8, top 10 quarterback. They can win a tremendous amount of games. Now, the one big story for some, not for me, was that Rodgers missed minicamp last week. Mandatory minicamp. Mandatory. Non-excused absence. And to me, it's a non-story on so many friggin' levels because now he's like, oh, he's not a team guy. He's not this. He's not that. This is the same guy that took a pay cut last year to help play players. This is the pay players. Same guy that's been at all the OTAs, has gone above and beyond in terms of leadership, mentoring the young kids, trying to change the culture, trying to do all these things. If he misses 2 practices in June, I can give 2 shits. I do not care. He's proven himself, dude, on the field for the Jets. Because look what he inherited. He inherited a rudderless ship that had no leadership, no quarterback, no direction, no face to the franchise. He became all of that, embraced it, wanted it, and unfortunately got hurt. Came back, tried to come back faster than anybody humanly possible can do, almost accomplished it, but the team let him down because they couldn't win goddamn games. The offseason has done everything right. Been here. Yeah. He misses 2 practices, like, oh, nope, he's not a team guy. Dude, I don't care about June. If this was happening in August, I'd worry. If this was happening, I'd worry. And the reactions are so ridiculous. Like, dude, it just shows it's a quiet time. Rangers are done, Knicks are done. Baseball's kind of like that. Nobody cares right now about baseball. That's all it is. Like, dude, I thought it was such a non-story for me.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There has never been, just going back to the injury, there has never been an injury more celebrated than Aaron Rodgers' injury. Yep. So you even just look at that. The media hates him. Anything this guy does, they're going to get on him. It's 2 practices in June. Rich Cimini said on his podcast the other day that he thinks that he roughly missed 30 snaps. 30 snaps is nothing for him. 30 snaps. We're sitting here killing him over 30 snaps. This is a guy that came in last year, right? The way it ended in Green Bay, every single OTA was at all the practices. 2 days after his introductory press conference, he was out there already throwing to receivers. Yep. Obviously they canceled minicamp because of the early Hall of Fame game against the Browns, so he didn't have that, but he goes in, looks good during training camp, plays the preseason game. He tears Achilles on the 4th play, as we all know. This is a guy that could have easily retired, left the Jets with a void at quarterback, and everybody would have understood him because he would have been 40 years old, coming off a torn Achilles. It was just such a devastating injury to go down that early in the season with that much hype around the team. It was a new beginning for him, and everybody would have been like, okay, this makes sense. But he came back. He wanted to be with the team. He got killed for that, Tyson. Yep. He came back in November, and they were calling him selfish. They were calling him a me guy. How is he a me guy when he was risking his body working scout team for the 5-8 Jets? Like, how? I didn't understand that. So he comes back. He wants to be with the teammates. He wants to be in that quarterback room. He wants to try and help that quarterback room, right? Which I don't know if I could have did that every day watching that film, but he tried. So then he goes into this offseason. Even DJ Reed said it. He was there before DJ Reed was there. He's been there one of the longest out of anybody in the team. Yep. And they knew about this for months too. It's not like this was something that he told Saleh 2 days before minicamp, hey, I'm not going to be here. They knew about this for months. Yep. And he was there on Monday too to take his physical for the media day as well. So not many people have talked about that, but he was there for that as well. He misses 2 days. It means absolutely nothing. Tom Brady 2 years ago missed 11 days of training camp. You didn't hear anything. You didn't hear a word. Rodgers missed 2 days of minicamp in June, and we're going to kill him. I mean, everything this guy has done for this organization, you mentioned it, the dysfunction. This team's been the laughingstock for years. They haven't got the quarterback situation right on the field, off the field. He's come in here and embodied being a Jet. He's come in here and done everything possible to try and get this team back on track. And he's done very well with the young guys too, which is something that a lot of people were a little worried about. He's been excellent with those guys. I mean, you see the players defending him. They have no problem with it. The media is just taking
there's another aspect to it too, is like he also knows, in theory, that the team is in good hands with Tyrod Taylor running the show. Yeah. It's not 100%. Like he leaves for 2 days and it's like, oh, we got Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, all these other clowns. Like, no, Tyrod can run it. He can run the offense. Tyrod can learn more and establish chemistry. Like, there wasn't like a huge drop-off. It's 2 practices. It wasn't like, all right, the ship is going to sink now for 2 days. No, it's no big deal. And the team did know about it. The thing is, the Jets with their PR, they don't know how to talk their way out of a bag. That's always been the Jets thing. They don't know how to handle anything. And that's never going to change, unfortunately. But to me, it's just like, whatever, dude. I don't care. Let's talk about August. Let's talk about training camp. To me, the much bigger story, which didn't get never enough attention, is the Reddick deal. The Reddick contract is a disaster right now. And the reason why is because right now he's holding out. And I would too. Because you know what? I have no guaranteed money. I'm not going to your complex. There's no reason for me to, because you're one injury away from losing $14.2 million. And I don't want to lose that money. Now, when training camp comes, you know what? I'm going to show up because I'm going to lose $50,000 a day. Now it becomes a little more prominent. But here's the deal. When you trade for a guy from the Eagles that you know is already in a contract dispute, has already earned big-time money. He earned this contract. He's at the peak of his career right now. A pass rusher at his age, he wants that big payday. Everybody knows about it. The Eagles knew about it. The Jets knew about it. If you trade for him, you have to have a plan in place. The plan, I just don't believe the story. The plan is, you know what? Come here, play it out. We'll do with you at the end of this year. No way that's the deal, dude. And that's why Reddick had to respond, because right now the only story we're hearing is the Jets side. The Jets are telling Samini, they're telling Connors, they're telling everybody what their side is. There's two sides of the story. I do not believe in any facet that Reddick said, you know what? I just want to play for the Jets under my current contract. I'm completely happy with that, with no guaranteed money all year long. There's no way he said that, dude. I will never believe that story.
I mean, that's the reason he wanted out of Philly. He wanted a new contract. He wanted more money. He wanted to have guaranteed money. And you can understand this, like you said, you know, 100%. It would be different if he wanted a, you know, new extension. He had guaranteed money and the Jets wanted him for kind of a 1-2 year rental. But yeah, it's an interesting situation. Joe Douglas he's got some pressure on him with this one because, you know, he's entering obviously a must-win year. You can't have this where you trade for him. Now, all of a sudden, you're acting surprised that he wants a new contract.
Wait, bro, no, hold on. But hold on. There's more to that. You traded John Franklin Myers. You didn't re-sign Huff. Reddick is your answer. That's a crucial piece of your puzzle, who's also going to take pressure off Will McDonald to not have to get 12 sacks this year. Yeah. Like, that's a vital piece to your defense, man, that pressure, what he's bringing to the table. So now it's like you combine all that. Joe Douglas has a lot of problems. Now, I don't think he's going to hold out. The easy thing to do here is guarantee money. Now, he has like some crazy stats, like 38 sacks for 3 years and 27 or less. All these crazy sack numbers. He's earned it, and rightfully so. So if you give him guaranteed money this year, next year, make it a 2-year window, I'm completely cool with that. And like a 3rd-year option, because there's always that funny money. You can make it look like, 3 years, $45 million. He's really getting only 30. But, you know, on paper, it looks great and everybody's happy. But you got to do something, dude. I don't want the distraction. You don't want the nonsense. And I can't wait to hear what his side of the story is, because I think the Jets are going to – they're playing the game now because there's no training camp. Like, Reddick's not going to meet the media, right? Because now it's like everything's quiet for a month. But once he reports, the stories are going to come out. So if the Jets were smart, they figured out, get something done, make him happy, and avoid this nonsense. And if you keep him here next year, it's not a bad thing, dude. It's like a legitimate pass rusher. For me, it's like Aaron Rodgers is a 2-year window. This year, next year. I bring back Reddick next year. I get Reed back next year. I get all these Conklin, get all these guys figured out for a 2-year window. And 3 years from now, we'll worry about it because they're going to be in cap hell and they have no quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree. I mean, this is a guy that has shown no signs of slowing down either. You know, you look at him. Exactly. You know, he's 29 years old. He will be 30 in August, but he's shown no signs of slowing down. And he's a guy, too, that he's missed one game in his career. One game. A guy that's very durable, out there every single game, out there, being a big factor for the Eagles, of course, for Cardinals, and of course the 1 year he was in Carolina as well. He's 4th in the NFL in sacks. I mean, he's up there with over the last 4 seasons. He's up there with TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, 50.5 over the last 4 years. So he's been phenomenal. He's just a game wrecker, gets to the quarterback, destroys the quarterback. And yeah, I mean, he takes a lot of the pressure off Will McDonald, who, of course, I think some Jets fans are kind of skeptical on because he didn't show you a whole lot. He needs to take that big year 2 jump that ideally he could take a jump like Jermaine Johnson took last year. And of course, hopefully see more continued growth out of him. But yeah, I mean, I think a 2-year deal or those 3-year deals, like you mentioned, where Douglas has done that a lot, kind of 2 years, make it look like 3, then an opt out after an easy out after 2, make both sides happy. But yeah, you brought him in because he fits the window. He fits the window a little bit more than a lot of people feel Bryce Huff did, where he's probably better right now. But that's kind of the way I guess the Jets viewed it. But you know, you fit that 2-year window, and then I mean, after that, you're looking at 2 years of Rodgers. You move on from all of them. You know, ideally it ends in a Super Bowl here, and then you're kind of resetting after that. But yeah,
because the last thing you want is you don't bring back Huff, you don't get a deal done with Reddick at the end of this year. He's gone, and now you're like, now we need a pass rusher again. You had 2 of them in the building.
Yeah, and if Will McDonald doesn't take a jump, then you're really scrambling, because then you're just down to Jermaine Johnson, and that's it. Because that 4th edge rusher spot's still up for grabs right now, because you have Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, and then Hassan Reddick. That 4th edge spot is up. You know, some of the UDFAs, Eric Watts, Brady McGregor, they just signed Tack McKinley. So if you go down Hassan Reddick, Will McDonald doesn't step up this year, you're all of a sudden scrambling next year in what could be Rodgers the last season. You could just be staring at Jermaine Johnson, when you had Huff, JFM, like you mentioned, and then Reddick as well.
Yeah, and it's a position of strength. That's the thing. Like, what you're taking away from your strength now for no reason other than being frugal. That's all it really is. Guarantee the money, figured out. I'd be shocked if the Jets don't. I think the last thing you want to do is make this trade under all this attention and win now year and have this contract mess blow up in your face. The other guy to me that really was two guys really is DJ Reed's really interesting too, because right now you look at the Jets where they have pretty, like at the trade deadline, they have plenty of assets to make a trade, but you're going to want cap space to work out with it. To me, DJ Reed's a guy that we all love, Pro Bowl caliber, great compliment to Sauce Gardner, Pro Bowl caliber guy, very good player, a little bit older. Now, he's in the last year of his deal. To me, it's like ideally, like Reddick, I'd like to get another deal, another year on his contract. Get him back here next year so we have the best team possible to win this year and next year. The problem is, I think he's 28 years old. He's earned that big contract, dude. And I think he's like, you know what? This is probably, at his age, probably his last big payday. Strike when the iron's hot, right? This is his coming off great year, corner. They always get paid well. A little bit older, though. If he strings out 2 more years, he may not get that other $15 million year deal. Do you think the Jets get a deal done with him, or do they have to pivot and say, you know what? We love you, DJ Reed. We love what you brought to this organization. Michael Carter II, at 25 years old, an emerging star at his position, that's the guy we got to take care of instead.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part with the way the Jets cornerback room's constructed. And that's why winning right now is so important, where you can win with all these guys still on some of the rookie deals. And of course, DJ Reed still on his deal he signed 2 years ago. Crazy. It's already been 2 years now since that 2022 draft class as well. Time has flown. But yeah, I think they're going to go. I love DJ Reed. What he brings to the locker room as well is a huge, huge positive as well. This has been a guy that's come in, one of the best signings Joe Douglas has made since taking over as general manager. I think the Jets this is just me. I would love to have all three of them back, but you got to think you're going to give Sauce Gardner a historic contract. He's going to get more money than Jair Alexander, who is currently the highest paid in football at corner. I think they're going to prioritize the youth. I think they're going to go to Michael Carter. They're going to give him a big contract there. Statistically, you watch this guy play. He's the best nickel in football. You're going to have him, Sauce Gardner, as your 1-2. And I think DJ Reed is going to probably hit free agency. And like you mentioned, going to be, 28 by the time that comes. Look for his last big payday, as opposed to trying to ink out a 1 to 2 year extension here and then being 30 at his next point and not getting that massive payday. But I would love for them to try and get something done. I just think Douglas is going to prioritize youth over Reed, but I mean,
no, and listen,
it's interesting.
I agree with you. Sauce is a must. He's going to get a record-breaking
100%.
Contract. 100% got to do that. That's a no-brainer. To me, it's like you can only allocate so much money to the secondary, right? So it's like, all right, Sauce gets it. Michael Carter II, young guy that's grown in your system. This is the whole keep one of your own, draft them, blossom. You know what he is, keep him. That's what it is. And then your other corner, be like, you know what? Let's find somebody. Find somebody else. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast, because you need that money elsewhere, dude, because a lot of these guys they signed are on 1 year deals, 2 year deals. So next year, you need that money again. Plus, you got to pay Garrett Wilson soon, Jermaine Johnson, all these other guys. So for me, unfortunately, the money you want to keep Reed, I don't think they can, dude. And then you look, all right, so the other position that's kind of bothering me a lot is wide receiver. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I was hoping that Alan Lazard was going to bounce back after a dreadful year last year where he was ripped by the fans, the media. He was inactive. They didn't even want him on the field. So you figure, you know what? His buddy's coming back. The reason why he came here, he played well with them. Maybe he'll turn it around now. He'll have a chip on his shoulder like he's ultra motivated. Then you read every friggin' report out of OTAs. He's dropping passes. He looks lost. And the contract, you can't even trade the contract. So you cut him, you lose money. Like there's just no, like you're keeping him because you're almost forced to at this point. So if that's the case, say he's not going anywhere, which to me is already a problem. It's a terrible contract. The Mike Williams thing, it makes you nervous because you don't know when he's going to be ready. Now, the whole thing is I should be ready by week 1. Should be, and me being a Jet fan that's always cynical is like, what does that mean? Because if he's not, then what? And what are we counting on? And now everybody's going to sell us on Corley, which great. He's a rookie receiver who's got a lot to learn in this offense in a very short period of time. Gibson, nice story, unproven. Where is Garrett Wilson's your star? But after that, you get a little bit like, all right, man, I wish we had somebody else here, because if Mike Williams is kind of like an iffy, not full speed to say week 2, week 3, week 4, you get a little bit nervous, no?
Yeah, it's interesting. I would have liked to see them potentially go after even another guy like a Tyler Boyd, maybe, even after Mike Williams, just to have another veteran in here. I think Mike Williams, I know they're kind of covering up, and he said that he'll be ready for week 1, which I think should happen. How ready is he? Like, is he 100% right away? I don't know. We'll see. I think he's going to follow along the Breece Hall path in training camp, similar to what Breece Hall did last year. And we'll see. I mean, Breece Hall came out in week 1, had the 82-yard run. He looked like he was never injured. So we'll see if Mike Williams can come out and look like he didn't even lose a step at all last year. You know, the positive is it did happen earlier in the season, so you're kind of entering that full year. It's not like that was an injury that he suffered in week 15, 16. Yep. So you hope that it's kind of the full calendar year where he'll be able to bounce back pretty fast. But, yeah, I mean, it's Garrett Wilson, and if Mike Williams is good to go, then it's Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, and in questions. If Mike Williams is slow out of the gate, then, yeah, you're looking at, you know, Xavier Gipson, who's had a good OTAs, had a good mini camp, but still a little unproven. I still try and look at Allen Lazard as this guy was the worst receiver in football last year. Like, he can't be any worse. Like, I feel like he's got to be like Aaron Rodgers has got to find a way to get something out of him. We knew when he came over that the drops were going to be an issue because they were an issue in Green Bay. I don't think any of us expected the soccer ball to come into play and all that stuff, but it did. So, you know, that was definitely a surprise, but, you know, I just hope that his focus level, his motivation's a lot different and so much better than it was last year. I think he lost focus. I think he lost motivation. He gave up and there's no excuse for it, but with the quarterback play that he was given, you know, he just checked out, and you hope that Rodgers,
he quit on the team, dude.
Yeah, he did.
He quit.
Yeah, 100%.
When the going got tough, he went going. When Rodgers went out and things started falling apart, he mailed it in like, you know what? I got my guarantee money. I got my check. I generally don't care. And it showed, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%. And you've even seen so far in camp where there's been a couple reporters that have tweeted out that Rodgers has had to talk to him after a drop or after a misplay to kind of get him to focus in, lock in a little bit, and then he would make a play afterwards. So you can even tell so far early in camp or, you know, even OTs and mini camp where he hasn't quite been locked in all the time. You know, you've talked about some of the drops. So it's a bad contract. I mean, you remember when Saleh said it last year, how he said, you know, we got one more year of him. So it feels like this is probably it for him no matter what happens this year. The coaching staff, I think, was pretty fed up. And then you get into your Brownlees of the world and those guys. You just hope that Rodgers can get a lot more out of these guys than we saw, you know, Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian get out of them last year. But the tight end room is coming together nicely, which is a positive.
Well, and that's where I was going to go next. I'm like, all right, the wide receiver group, it's like, to me, this whole offense is Aaron Rodgers has got to fix this. Aaron Rodgers has got to carry that. Aaron Rodgers has got to elevate this person. Like, he's got to make the receivers better, the offensive line better. Like, he's got to make Hackett better, you know, Todd Downing better. You got to do all these things. So it's like, all right, if the wide receivers are a concern, which I think they are, Mike Williams to me is like, love the player, unknown for the first couple of weeks until you see him in training camp, can actually participate. Then it's like, all right, tight end group, where I love Conklin, dude. I've loved him. He's done a lot with a very little. He's been dealing with terrible play calling and terrible quarterback play, and is still salvaging enough to be, you know, presentable, like, you know, credible as a tight end in the NFL. I think he can be a lot better than that. But the question I have for you is, behind him gets a little concerning too, because it's like, all right, we love Ruckert. Hasn't been healthy, hasn't done a lot in the NFL. Is he like everybody wanted to do Zamagan, which I agree with, especially at his pay rate. But what is Ruckert, dude? And I think it's make or break time for him, right? This is like, if you don't show, to me, it's like if he doesn't show enough in training camp, I'm making a move. Make a veteran move, bring another tight end in here, because I don't want any excuses like, oh, well, now we're kind of struggling here. No. Like, when you're in camp and you start seeing this, Ruckert can't pick up the slack or he gets banged up, while everybody loves Kenny Yeboah, bring me another veteran guy that can catch the friggin' football and Aaron Rodgers can rely on. Because you remember the one story Randall Cobb said last year, if he doesn't trust you, he ain't throwing you the ball. Yep. Once you lose that kind of respect or that, you know, that instinct with with Rodgers, you're gone. So what are your thoughts on the tight end group?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Ruckert with some of the excuses. You know, I feel like now it's make or break time with Ruckert, because year one, it was redshirt season, kind of just a year for him to sit back. Last year, it was, you know, same quarterback problems. Offense was terrible, you know, missed time or barely played, not missed time, barely played. Again, the offense was awful, quarterback play. Now it's year three. Now you got to take a jump. Like, now all this talent they talked about from him coming out of Ohio State, hometown kid, great story, but you got to show up now. You know, it's kind of put up or shut up at this point. You know, I'm hopeful that Conklin will obviously lead the way, and a lot of people forget too. Conklin's been dealing with the same quarterback play as all these other guys as well, and he's put together some career years in New York. Finally, a reliable tight end that this team really hasn't had in a very long time. Kenny Yeboah is an interesting one for me because you've heard some good things out of OTAs. It seems like his route running's been improved. It feels a little bit like Yeboah so far from what I've gathered. It feels like Yeboah might be a little bit of a step ahead of Ruckert going into training camp. And I wonder if the Jets are going to how they're going to utilize the tight ends behind Conklin, where if they run 12 personnel in a running situation, is Ruckert out there to block because we know Ruckert's blocking ability is phenomenal.
Yep.
But in a passing situation, do you have Yeboah out there? Because it seems like so far he's been the better route runner. He's been the better pass catcher this offseason. So that's going to be something I'm really interested to see what they do. Maybe Ruckert's role is not necessarily a big yards pass catching guy, more so a blocking guy, and Yeboah takes over that role that maybe we thought Ruckert would be when we took him. I'm kind of interested in. And Zach Kuntz's fourth tight end, I don't think he'll play much. I mean, he caught the touchdown last year on Hard Knocks when he ran the wrong route. So
yeah, but see, the thing is, if your point that you just made about Yeboah coming in on passing downs, that's already a problem for me. Because then you're already giving away what your play call is. All right, Yeboah's coming in, we're passing the ball. And Ruckert's in, we're going to run the ball. I saw the one thing, maybe have Ruckert kind of be like your hybrid guy, fullback, tight end. You can get rid of Nick Bolton. You can save a roster spot. I think you got to see a lot of him, man. You want to see him catching the ball. You have yards after the catch. You want to see him develop into a guy that if Conklin does go down, you feel comfortable with it. And if not, you got to make a move. To me, it's like I'm instinctual, man. All right, you're not like OTAs is one thing, mandatory minicap's another thing. Once you see live action at training camp and guys aren't cutting it, I'm not waiting until week 5 to figure that out. I'm making aggressive moves in August to say, okay, listen, we may hurt some feelings here, but we've got to make a change. So going from the tight end room to the running back room, which is really interesting as well, because the entire offseason, I wanted somebody that was a veteran to kind of back up Breece Hall, good like Ezekiel Elliott for the reason of short yardage, very good in blitz pickup, pass protection, leader, can guide this young running back room, right? The Jets don't really do that. They go out and they draft 2 guys, which everybody loves. They have a lot to prove. Tariq Cohen's kind of interesting. He could probably maybe serve in that veteran room. But to me, it's like a lot of inexperience, man, where Breece has got who's like an all pro running back. But behind him is kind of like, all right, a little bit nervous here where you have Conklin, not much behind him. Running back, Breece Hall, plenty of talent, a lot of unproven talent too. Are you nervous about the running back room at all?
Yeah, quickly just going back to tight ends, just one more point I wanted to make there. It's going to be really interesting. I think to your point of potentially bringing another veteran, seeing where they're at, that first joint practice against Washington, that preseason game, I want to see them try and get the ball to Ruckert, try and feed him, try and get him opportunities, get those tight ends involved, see what they look like. Because the joint practices are obviously great and coaches, really like them. Teams really like them to kind of take a lot away. So I think potentially there early on in camp, you'll get a pretty good idea of how that's shaping out. To the running back room, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting offseason for this running back room. You thought they would maybe bring in a veteran. They don't. They go and draft Braylon Allen. You're like, okay, understand that. Then they go and draft Isaiah Davis, which was, I think, a very much of a surprise. I think a lot of us thought they would maybe go interior offensive line there, look at maybe another weapon to bring in. I know Christian Mahogany was still on the board. Brandon Rice was still on the board at receiver. Yeah. So there was a couple guys they could have went at. Running back didn't seem like one of them. So they go running back. I think that was kind of lighting a fire a little bit under Izzy. And so far through the offseason spring workouts, Izzy hasn't gone a whole lot of run with the first team. So, and in the Tariq Cohen edition as well, I wouldn't be surprised to see Izzy off this team to get cut potentially, especially if they want that veteran guy in the room, and Tariq Cohen. And Tariq Cohen as well, a guy that can return kicks, with the Jets have brought in a couple pieces to potentially return kicks because they've obviously Brant Boy or Robert Saleh, very intrigued with the new kickoff rule. They've brought in a couple different names there. So, yeah, I mean, I really like Braylon Allen. I'm very excited about what Braylon Allen can do. He's a power back, downhill runner, good out of the backfield, a lot of really good traits. I mean, the dude is just a monster. He's 20 years old. He's got so much potential, such a high ceiling. I'm not as concerned with the running back room as I am, I would say, the receiving core or the tight end room potentially, just because Breece Hall is just such a beast. The dude's a monster. He's going to go out there and put up 1,500, 1,600 all-purpose yards with his eyes closed this season. I don't think that's much of a debate. He's a guy that had 994 yards last year with no offensive line, no quarterback. They knew he was getting the ball, and he still went out there and made plays. I'm really looking forward to Braylon Allen. After that, I think there is a little bit of a concern what is Isaiah Davis? You know, he's a 5th-round pick. He played at FCS. The competition is not the same, you know, at the lower level, D1. And then Tariq Cohen is the guy that hasn't played in the NFL since 2020, and Izzy Abanikanda didn't show you a whole lot. So from a third running back perspective, I understand the concern, but I will say this. I really like the 1-2 punch that they're going to roll out there with Braylon Allen, because I'm very excited for what he can do. I thought coming out of college, I mean, the dude's just a monster. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the videos. It's just, he's a beast. He's a beast. And I think that's perfect for Brees, is just an all-around great back. Braylon Allen is kind of just a smash mouth, downhill runner, can catch out of the backfield, do a lot of those good things. Now, look, a little bit of a concern is like pass blocking. That could be a little bit of a concern for some of these inexperienced guys out of the backfield, which a veteran would help.
That's not.
I will say this.
But see, that's not a little bit of a concern. That's a big concern for me. Yeah. I have 2 concerns. It's consistently catching the football, which is going to be really, really important, especially for Braylon Allen, where the early reports are great, where he's actually surprising people with their hands. But blitz pickup is paramount, man. Like, you can't afford those mistakes. That's where having your Ezekiel Elliott or your Cordell Patterson or whoever else. But then that falls on Hackett. That falls on Rodgers. Like, you've got to coach these guys up. If you want to go young, it's great. You want to count on Ruckert, all these guys, and guess what you got to do? You actually got to coach them up correctly and as fast as possible, because you can't afford the mistakes, right? I think last year the offensive line, they were so bad on some different levels, they weren't being coached well. This year your offensive line is going to be better because you have better talent there. Like, you have Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, but we're not doing this. Like, no, we're not. And like
ABT back,
right? And so your offensive line, but it's like to the other things, it's like it falls on the coaching staff, which makes me a little bit nervous. And again, I agree with you. Like, I like Braylon Allen. I like what he brings. The Jets haven't had that thumper back there in a while, like the guy, like short yardage, goal line, or a guy at the end of the game just wears you out, where it's like, you don't want to see Breece Hall carrying the ball when it's 30-10. Get him out of the game. Let this guy roll, run over the defense, get those yards. So that's what you want. Hopefully he can do that, but he's got to prove it, though, dude. It's like T-shirts and, shorts don't really mean much. It's like training camp is there. And so for me, it's like, see what they do in training camp. They could be great, but if you have that concern, don't be scared to pull the trigger here and be like, we need another running back. We need a veteran guy. Tariq Cohen's going to be the returner or whatever it is. And I guess to transfer over to the offensive line, this is interesting as well, because we're all happy about it, right? The Jets upgraded the offensive line. Here's the problem. There's so many ifs. And I'm not being negative. I'm just saying, like, looking at it, like, I'm talking 11 wins this year. So I'm already excited about it. But the if is, if Tyron Smith can play, let's say 13, 14 games, right? Give me that. 13 games, completely fine with it, right? Can Tippmann take a big step in year 2? What is he going to do? Can AVT stay healthy the entire year and play at the level that we know he can play? And can Morgan Moses, a year older, coming off a pec injury, can he play well? And can they all gel and play together as a unit for, say, 11 or 12 games? Like, that's a lot of ifs. If they can do all those things, the Jets are primed for big things. But in the past, the Jets had these continuous problems with injuries and poor play in the offensive line.
Yeah, the offensive line is, I think we could all agree that definitely the biggest X factor. It's massively improved. And if this offensive line's healthy, you're looking probably at the best offensive line since those 2009, 2010 teams. Potentially, maybe you have your next DeBerkeshaw Ferguson and Fashanu. Maybe Tippmann's your next Mangold. So there are those blue chip pieces. We'll see what happens down the road. But yeah, I mean, Tyron Smith, I think ideally you get ideally in a perfect world, he plays all 17. That's not going to happen. He hasn't played 17 games since 2015, which, to think back, Fitzpatrick was the quarterback then. So a lot has happened since 2015. Hasn't played full season since then. I think it's kind of the other best case scenario, realistic best case scenario is probably 12, 13 games. Fashanu's out there for 4. Morgan Moses, the pec injury is definitely a little concerned. Played through it last year. This is a guy that hasn't really dealt with many injuries throughout his career up until, I guess, kind of really the last 2, and then last year with the pec injury where he still found a way to play through it. So I trust him to stay healthy. I trust him to go out there and play probably 15 games, potentially 14, 15 games, not miss too much time. Tyron Smith's the biggest concern. And AVT's, it's some of the freak stuff, but I would still like to see the Jets bring in Connor McGovern. I would still like to see them bring in a depth piece. I think he's waiting to see if there's an injury in camp to potentially look and get a bigger deal elsewhere. If not, I could see this being a second week of the preseason, mid-August kind of low, under the radar, cheap backup contract where McGovern realizes, all right, I'm not getting any other deals elsewhere. Everybody's healthy. Nobody's desperate. Let me come back to the Jets. Great mentor for Tippmann. This is a guy that's been very good in the locker room, been here since 2020, been around the team, been around the locker room, been around the building. So I would really like to see that. It would add another depth piece because then you have Fashanu, you have McGovern, you got Schweitzer, and then you have Carter Warren as well, who you hope can take a little bit of a second-year leap. Showed some good things last year, but not a whole lot.
No, but I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Like this is the perfect world for Fashanu. Olu can sit around and just hone his craft and learn from one of the best ever to play the game. But then at the same time, it's like if he's forced to play in spot, you're like, you know what? This is number one pick, number one draft pick. Like this kid's got talent that can hopefully hold the fort for however long Tyron's out. And then you have Carter Warren is a project that, you know, the thing we kind of forget is he missed all of training camp. He missed all of OTAs. So now he played when he wasn't even really without practice, really, without that full NFL camp. So now he's got a full NFL offseason, weight training, coaching, you know, get all these things in place, and he's fully healthy. So he could take a big step up. But to me, Connor McGovern's a no-brainer, man. Backup center, backup guard, knows the offense. Rodgers apparently likes him. They had that veteran communication. A voice for Joe Tippmann. Hey, man, look at this, look for that. It makes a lot of sense. To me, the David Bakhtiari thing is gone, dude. I think Bakhtiari is going to wait. Almost like McGovern, like you mentioned. I think a lot of these guys now, nobody's going to sign right now. There's no sense signing in July or June. You wait till training camp starts, and you wait to see who gets hurt, especially like a contending team that's desperate to play, right? They're going to be like, hey, you know what? We need a left tackle. You know, he may get, you know, a veteran minimum with the Jets. You may get $5 million somewhere else with all kinds of incentives because they need a starter at that moment. So players holding out now don't make sense because why signing in June serves no purpose. You see what your most, you know what your value is now because you know what offers you already received. I want to know what offers I get in August when somebody's getting desperate. So, but overall, I think the offensive line it's interesting. I'm excited. It's an upgrade if they can stay healthy. I think the one thing that's paramount is they got to practice together, something they didn't do last year, and that's where all these little injuries get you nervous, right? You're like, all right, I think they played what? They had 4 to 5 were practicing, and the 5th one didn't play till like Dwayne Brown was out all of camp.
Dwayne Brown practiced for like 2 days, and then they threw him out there.
Then he got roasted.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say this too about the offensive line. You know, I like John Simpson as well, another guy that, you know, they brought in as well. But I think if John Simpson is your 5th best offensive lineman this year, you're having a pretty good year up front. So I'd say that's probably a pretty good baseline for fans to kind of look at where this team's going to be at this season. If he's your 5th best offensive lineman, nothing against John Simpson, but when you look at these other guys and you look at Tippmann's ceiling, you look at AVT's ceiling, those guys could be top of the line starters. Those guys could be really big pieces for a long time. I think John Simpson, you're probably looking at as your 5th best offensive lineman. If that's the case, then that means Tyron Smith staying relatively healthy. That means Tippmann's growing. That means AVT's having a good season. And then even Morgan Moses as well, staying healthy. And I mean, look, AVT's another guy. This is a dude that's all pro at right. You can make the case all pro at right guard and right tackle. I mean, you know, this guy could play everywhere. So finally him at one position as well, which they've been doing him a little bit of a disservice, bouncing him around everywhere. You can finally see him at one position this year. So I guess the floor is kind of unknown, but the ceiling is really high for what this group can do. Okay. And, you know, hopefully, they got to practice. Tyron Smith can't practice once and expect to go out there and perform. And I'm glad you brought up Fashanu because they've even said it. He's been excellent. I think they're across from each other. Their lockers are close. Like it's perfect. You're learning from one of the best tackles to ever play the game, one of the best tackles over the last decade. To drop all that knowledge on Fashanu, even Morgan Moses as well for Warren and Fashanu. Morgan Moses is a guy that's been around for a while, knows what he's doing. And just 2 great guys too that can help you off the field as well. Just guys that go about their business the right way. Perfect spot for him.
No, and even Rodgers hinted towards that. He said the one day in the locker room, he's sitting there hanging out, and he saw like Olu walked over to Tyron Smith's locker. They're talking. Carter Warren sitting with Morgan Moses, and that's what you want. Like you have these mentors for these young blossoming players. It's the perfect scenario. Even Mike Williams for Garrett Wilson, that helps out. But the missing piece, not the missing piece, the final piece of this entire offensive puzzle is the play caller. Now, I think having Aaron Rodgers behind center makes your offensive line better, gets rid of the ball faster. He can call out defense. He can call out, you can change signals, like, don't do this, don't do that. That helps a lot. But at the end of the day, Hackett's got to call the plays. And legitimate concern, whatever reports you want to believe or don't believe, I think the Jets probably did want to give him some kind of consultant. Like, listen, man, we need somebody to oversee this program because Rodgers, you saw Rodgers on the sideline last year shaking his head like, what are these play calls? It was terrible. Players are complaining. But nonetheless, the Jets, I guess Saleh banked on himself saying, you know what? I'm going to be more involved in the offense. I'm going to offset what Hackett's doing. We're going to figure it out that way. What's your level of confidence in Hackett bouncing back? Or is it more predicated on Aaron Rodgers being so friggin' good he can audible out and kind of change things what are actually going to work?
I think for me, it's more on Rodgers. I think Rodgers, it's a lot of it's just going to be audibling. Hackett will give him the play, go up to line. What he sees at the line, he's going to switch it. Zach, Simeon, Boyle, none of them were capable of doing that last year, which was obviously evident. Something that he did all the time in Green Bay. So it's not like it's going to be too much on his plate. He did all those years in Green Bay. Other than the one season Hackett had in Jacksonville with Blake Bortles, he's nothing without Rodgers other than that 1 year. Yeah, I mean, the locker room, you could tell the offense, they lost trust in him. They lost faith in him. And if the Jets basically tried to tell you that they tried to downgrade him to Aaron Rodgers' coffee guy in the morning. That's what they tried to do. And they tried to bring in somebody else. I'm really glad to see Saleh in the offense because this is a guy that when we hired him, we thought we were getting a CEO type coach like Parcells and a guy that has been, all he does is clap for the defense. And there's been no accountability, no going over and talking to the offense. Last year when the offensive line was having terrible games, not communicating, he would never walk over to them and talk to them. He would just stand there on the sidelines with his arms crossed, with a blank stare. I mean, we saw that all the time. So hopefully this year, hopefully the offense line's good and these other groups are good and we don't have that. But in the event they do struggle, hopefully you see Saleh over there talking to them, holding guys accountable, trying to get them back into the game because all the clapping and high-fiving of the defense is great. Being hyped up, doing Quincy Williams' sack celebrations, excellent. But when things aren't going great, when the going gets tough and you're just standing there, it's a bad look and it's a soft look. This is a guy that put on a pretty big show for Hard Knocks, but hasn't backed it up.
He's been all bark, no bite.
Yeah,
but the thing
exactly.
is, and I think the most important thing is, like, he could never explain why there weren't adjustments made. Now, we do game stream stuff that I'll have my beers and whatever else. And I'm like, all right, why is Dwayne Brown not getting help? Now, if my drunk ass can see it, and it's obvious that he needs help, or even Becton, right? You're sitting here like, why are we not giving him help? And then after the game, Saleh can't explain it. That last year was your learning experience. That was your whatever we want to call that. I don't know what it was, mulligan, I guess. But now it's like this year we can't see the same thing. If somebody is struggling, now that you're more involved in the offense, in the postgame, you got to tell us why you didn't do it. Like, tell us what is going on here, because what happened last year, while Zach got blamed for so much, was a lot of inexcusable coaching mistakes from the head coach and the coordinator, and that's got to change. So I think Rodgers does help with that because obviously, he's a veteran. He probably can create the offense himself. But this is still on solid, dude. When things like you said it, when things are going great, he's the best coach in the world. When things start falling apart, he just looks like, I'm not really sure what to do. Now, maybe he's going to look over to Aaron and say, Aaron, you fix it. But at some point, he's got to prove himself against these top-level teams if you want to make the playoffs and win some playoff games.
Yeah, and Aaron can't be the only voice either in that room either. You need another voice as well. You need a legitimate leader, a head coach. So, yeah, I think, too, after last year, I think last year in general was a pretty large smack in the face for this organization, for Robert Saleh, for Joe Douglas. And I think they both know that they're on the hot seat. There's no excuses this year. There's none. If they go 8-9 with Aaron Rodgers, they're all out of here.
Yep.
Rodgers is too. Rodgers said it as well. They are on the hot seat. I think that's why they made some of the moves they made in the offseason. They went out and got the big fish and Tyron Smith. They went out and obviously traded for Hassan Reddick, brought in a big fish there. So Saleh as well, I think, realizes like, man, year 4, my record's brutal. I've been getting, I haven't really shown much improvement from a coaching perspective. I got to change. And maybe too, it's possible that, and I don't know if this is true, but maybe someone within the organization or even Rodgers told him like, hey man, a little bit more involved in the offense or something like that to kind of light a fire under him, because it's been a guy that's been has his hands on a top 5 defense, but that's it.
He's blamed everybody but himself. It was LaFleur. It was Zach. It was everybody but him. Now it's like that. All these excuses are gone. Like, you literally got to, this is your coaching staff. These are all the guys you picked. This is what you wanted. You've doubled down on it arrogantly in some cases, kept downing, kept hacking. Now it's like, this is it. So you have to show what you're made of. Now, defensively, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Reddick. Obviously, I think he's going to be here, but the run defense to me is going to be really, really interesting because if you're going to attack the Jet defense, you want to run the ball like everybody else. If they're going to be fast and aggressive, you want to attack with the running game. They lost Woods. They lost Quentin Jefferson. They lost John Franklin Myers. Michael Clemens, still work in progress. They signed a couple guys. Solomon Thomas is back. What do you think about the run defense? Are you concerned at all? Kinlaw was a big signing that everybody's kind of questioning. What do you think about run defense?
Yeah, with the Kinlaw sign, it's funny. The Jets love former first-round picks. They love reclamation projects. Solomon Thomas, Tack McKinley, who they just signed, is a former first-round pick. You got Javon Kinlaw, former first-round pick. They love these former first-round pick reclamation projects to bring him into the defensive line room. Even Shaq Lawson, too, was a former first-round pick. But, yeah, I mean, they brought in Lecky Fotu, too, who's another guy that is kind of like a big body. I view is Al Woods' replacement in a way, just a big body, pure run stuffer. But you saw last year in that Giant game, the minute Al Woods went down, that run defense suffered because they didn't have that big body, just monster up front to just clog the run games or the running lanes in the interior. So the run game is a little bit of a concern. I hope that this year gets a little bit better because ideally teams aren't running as much late in games. I think a lot of it was this defense was so worn down late in games. You get to the second half, it's 13-3, and all teams are doing is they're not going to throw on this secondary. They're not going to risk a mistake. They're just going to run it down your throat. And eventually you're going to get worn down when the offense is going 3 and out. Yep. So ideally this defense plays with more leads and they force teams to pass a lot more in late game situations and they're not running the ball so much because look, it's not like the Jets. When you look at the way the Jets let up their rushing yards last year, they let them up with a whole lot of it was just a ton of runs. It wasn't like they were letting up big play after big play after big play. It was teams were going out there and running, and they were just racking up yards and yards and yards. Teams would average 3.6, 3.7 yards per carry. That's not great, but they would run the ball a ton. And if you keep running, you're going to get yards, and the defense is eventually going to get worn down. So I hope that the run defense from that perspective improves a little bit there because they're going to be playing with leads. They're not going to be as tired. But yeah, I mean, it is a little bit concerned. You hope Lecky Fotu can kind of take over as that just pure run stuff for like Al Woods was. We'll see what Javon Kinlaw can do. Solomon Thomas as well. And I'm even interested. Michael Clemens is another dude that's kind of is interesting as well. Just not even just from run game, but from an overall perspective is interesting to see what his roster spot's like this year because there's no guarantee that he makes the team. So
no, I mean that, and the money they gave Kinlaw, they're expecting big things. And the whole Quentin Jefferson thing is annoying, where it's like wasn't a fact thing, like the contract, like the Jets wanted it back, but there's miscommunication. Like, how does that happen?
And he was so good last year. He got hurt and he still had a career high in sacks. This is a guy that missed the final 2, 3, 4 weeks of the season. I mean, he was excellent. Quentin Jefferson was so underrated last year. Yeah, that was so head scratching. I mean, you look at what Douglas has done this offseason, right? You go out there and you bring in Hassan Reddick, you bring in Mike Williams, you bring in Tyron Smith, but you did lose Bryce Huff. You lost Quinn Jefferson. You lost Al Woods. You lost JFM. And you can make the case that, all right, Al Woods, fine. But JFM and Quentin Jefferson, you feel like should still be here.
Especially
Bryce Huff.
Yep.
Yeah. Bryce Huff, I mean, it just didn't seem like the Jets were willing to pay him. All right. But JFM and Quentin Jefferson, there doesn't really seem much of an excuse for that. But
yeah, no, I think defensively you have a lot of faith. Like everybody loves Ulbrich. They can make adjustments. They have enough talent. I think if they're playing with a lead, they'll be aggressive. I think they do good things there. CJ Mosley, a year older, a little bit concerning, but Quincy Williams, superstar. They love Jamie Sherwood. I think the secondary we talked about earlier, but the safety position is kind of interesting as well, where Tony Adams is a guy, he started really coming on last year. Ashton Davis, special teams guy, started to make plays, surprisingly, which I would have cut him the last 3 years in a row, but Ashton Davis doing a lot of really good things. Chuck Clark's your unknown, where everybody likes him, but he's coming off an injury, missed all of last year. He hasn't played as a Jet yet. But I think you're hoping he's that the hybrid kind of guy where, he can play in the box, he can play back a little bit, take advantage of Ashton Davis's athletic ability. To me, I would still look for maybe another veteran safety back there, though. I'm still like some big names out there. Again, they're not signing now because they don't have to. Why should they? But to me, once training camp starts and you see where's Chuck Clark, physically, is he there? Does he a good fit? Or you say, you know what? It's a legitimate huge upgrade. We don't need to spend a lot because the market's diminished. They're still out there in August. Maybe the safety position, they maybe adventure there a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, the safety position's always been interesting with this team, and it's so unfortunate what happened to Chuck Clark last year. I mean, it was just like one of those same old Jets moments where he missed 2 games in his entire NFL career.
Yep.
Last play of OTAs, tears his ACL. I mean, just brutal. You feel for him, and of course, it was a massive loss for the Jets. You know, the extension of Ashtyn Davis, they obviously believe in him, and look, I'll give credit to Ashtyn Davis. I'm the same boat as you. I'm surprised if I was the GM, he would have been out of here 2 years ago, but here he is getting a second contract. You give him credit. Douglas locking up one of his guys. Tony Adams, you hope that, you know, can continue to take a jump there. I thought he was solid last year. And then Chuck Clark, yeah, is definitely interesting to see what he looks like coming off the torn ACL. He's 29 years old. So he's getting older, missing an entire year. Always wondering what guys look like coming off a major injury. I don't know. I just don't think they're going to do much. This is a team that is like Saleh. And you even look back at his San Francisco days, like Ulbrich, Saleh, they've never sold very high on the safety. Like they just haven't. They kind of roll with their guys. They love their cornerbacks. Their cornerbacks get the job done. Love their linebackers. Defensive line got a legitimate 10-man deep defensive line with even guys like Tanzel Smart that are always on the outside looking in, that and a good chunk of teams would be starting or potentially playing somewhere else in a role. So I just always feel like they focus so much more on those positions. Safety to them isn't a big need. I mean, look, they've improved a lot from what they had with LaMarcus Joyner 2 years ago. So they have gotten better, but I don't see them going after like a Justin Simmons or even like a Quandre Diggs. I don't see that. I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I would be. I mean, if we got Justin Simmons, I think you got to be fired up if you're a Jet fan. I mean, you look at a secondary that includes Sauce Gardner, Michael Carter, DJ Reed, and Justin Simmons. I mean, that's as scary as it gets. If you haven't already considered the Jets as the best secondary in football, I think that's automatically putting them at number 1. There's no more debate after that. Even Quandre Diggs as well, who's had a very good career so far. So I'd be on board with it. I just don't think they will do anything. They're going to roll with this group. And then, of course, depth piece as well. You know, Zay Oliver has made the switch to safety. Yep. You look at, you know, a guy like Jarek Bernard-Converse that can do a little bit of both. He could play safety, could play cornerback, a guy that didn't really do much last year. Jalen Key, Mr. Irrelevant. Yeah. Mr. Irrelevant, I mean, not going to play much of a role, but a depth guy there. So
I think, but I think also it's like, but they're also, if you're playing with a lead, they can be a lot more opportunistic with turnovers where you can be more aggressive and get all those splash plays. I think last year they had to play literally perfect just to stay in the game. They couldn't go give up like 6 points, 9 points, 10 points. Anything more than that, you probably aren't winning. So they had to play at such a high level just to compete. Now they can play maybe a little more like loose, aggressive, get those big plays, get those pick sixes and everything else, which makes it exciting. Got some callers to bring on, but Bob, first of all, thank you to Gator. I was on Jake Ashman came on the show last week. Gator actually sent me a new logo. So if you're watching on YouTube, we have a new Let's Talk Jets logo. So thank you to Gator for sending it to me because I suck with technology and I didn't realize you couldn't see our logo. So now you can actually see it. So thank you to Gator. Thank you to Jake for sending it over because I never would have got it. But you look at this team, where do you see realistically like a record prediction? Not like, all right, you know, perfect world. Like, how do you think this plays out? Is 11 wins where you're at, where it's like, listen, I think AFC East is it. Anything less than that's disappointment. Like, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, right now I think they're 11-6. Probably by the end of training camp, I'll probably jump myself to say 12-5 because I'll be all fired up then when I get ready to watch that Niners game on Monday night. I'll probably say 17-0. But no, realistically, 11-6 is where I have them right now. I'm not worried about the beginning of their schedule with the primetime games and stuff like that. I'm just not. I mean, I think you look at the beginning of their schedule and it's actually very, very favorable. I mean, you face San Francisco on Monday night, which is tough. But even if you lose that game, after that, you get Tennessee, New England, Denver, and Minnesota. I mean, you're going to face Will Levis, Drake Mayer, Jacoby Brissett, some combination of Jarrett Stidham, Bo Nix, Zach Wilson, and then you'll get J.J. McCarthy or Sam Darnold in London. All 4 quarterbacks you should dominate. So I think you probably look at this and say they should be 4-1 going into that Buffalo game on Monday night, which will be a huge early season test. You got to split at least against Buffalo, Miami, if you want to try and win this division. I think they will win the division. I said it earlier. You know, Buffalo, you got to respect because I still think Josh Allen, when he's at his best, is a top 5, top 3 quarterback in football. And he's the best quarterback in this division when he's at his best. Even without Stephon Diggs, I think Josh Allen's one of those guys that can do a lot with less. Yep. We saw it a couple years ago. They were able to make the playoffs with John Brown and pieces like that. So This isn't a guy that definitely needs a number one receiver, but there are still some concerns there. You know, losing, no matter which way you spin it, losing your number one receiver, losing a guy in Gabe Davis are two massive losses. They also lost Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, both their starting safeties. So you can't, no matter which way you spin it, I'm not being a hater, no matter which way you spin it, those are massive losses. So I think the Jets got better. I also look at Miami. I think the Jets got better than them. And you too look at the Bills. I mean, this is a Jets team that's gone 2-2 against them the last 2 years with Zach Wilson.
Yep.
So, and that game on Monday night, they lost Aaron Rodgers. Could have easily been a game where they just gave up and lost 31-3. So I think with Aaron Rodgers, there's no doubt this team should win 11 games. They've won 7 the last 2 years with no quarterback. So I'll say 11-6 win a division. Will they have enough to win the AFC? I mean, I'd love that. I don't know. And I think too, for playoffs, I think at least you got to get to the AFC title game. I mean, I've said it for a while now. If not now, when? Like, if this team doesn't win these next 2 years with Rodgers, when? I mean, maybe Jordan Travis goes on some magical 10-year run, but it feels like Super Bowl still has got to be the expectation a little. I don't know if it just like, if not now, when? That's all I could say.
I agree.
This team doesn't win with Rodgers. And I also think AFC title game, because look, if you get to the division round, it means one of two things. It either means you got a first round bye and you lost at home, which would be brutal, or you win a wild card game. Yep. I can name about 15 quarterbacks that can win you a wild card game. You did not trade for Aaron Rodgers to just win a wild card game and get bounced in the division round. Gardner Minshew, Daniel Jones could win you a wild card game. Yep. I mean, Tyrod Taylor could probably win you a wild card game. So you brought Rodgers here to do a lot more than that. So that's the way I view it right now. 11-6, win a division, get to the AFC title game. Whatever happens after that, I mean,
no, and you're making a really good point, because I had the same concerns. Like, it's all like, that's why I'm all or nothing now. Like, I am 1,000% in for spending as much money as humanly possible, get these guys here for the next 2 years, and try to win the Super Bowl. Because after that, you're chasing the quarterback again.
Yep.
You got to pay Breece Hall, you got to pay Garrett Wilson, you got to pay Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson. You're not keeping all of them. There's gonna be guys not gonna get paid. He's gonna be gone. So now you're cycling over again. Not having a quarterback is a killer. So now it's like, this is where you have to be. This is it, all or nothing. And anything less than the AFC. And like, Miami, I think, is a very good team, but they have a lot to prove in terms of Tua winning big games, winning in December, winning on the road. It seems like their offense gets figured out. They start off fast. Teams start adjusting. It's kind of a blueprint, but they have a tremendous amount of speed. Like, I don't discount the Dolphins. I think they're very good. I think Jets and Rodgers are just a little bit better, but that remains to be seen. Rodgers has got to play top 8. Can he prove he can do that too? So we'll see. It's interesting, man. Like, I'm excited. Like, you're cautiously optimistic right now. You're like, please, nobody get hurt, like walking your dog in July. You know what I mean? Like, just please, everybody stay like healthy the entire offseason. Let's get to August and see how it works. Now, what we'll do is we'll see. But you still have some time? You like a half hour?
Yeah. I'm totally good. I'm good. Whatever you want.
Bro, first of all, you're killing it, man. When you first started doing these shows, you were kind of like quiet, not really shared. Now you're dropping all kinds of knowledge. I got to bring out some notes over here all of a sudden.
And I will also say this too. I think for Jets fans, I think like a realistic, I guess, season for Rodgers that I think would get us to try and think about like 75-80% of what Rodgers could be. I kind of look back and say, like, potentially maybe, Brady's last year in Tampa 2022. I know it wasn't quite pretty, but he had 25 touchdowns, 9 picks that year, 4,694 yards. I mean, if Rodgers gives you something like that, this team should win 11 games. I think that's probably 70-80% of Rodgers. Look, this guy doesn't need to go out there and throw 40 touchdowns and 5 picks and win an MVP. If he does that, I mean, by all, that would be amazing.
But to offset that, you could have Breece Hall could have 1,800 yards, and that's like, if you have if you put your offense around the running game, almost like a ground to pound, and sprinkle in the passing game until they get ready, so they're all accustomed to each other. Line protection is better. Mike Williams is acclimated, all that, and then open your offense up. But I'm with you. Rodgers could throw 27 touchdowns. I'm fine with that, because Breece Hall may have 15 or 16 himself, and then so there's different ways you can win. And I agree with that. So we'll bring a couple callers on. I haven't done a call-in show in probably 4 months. So I'm minding my own business on Twitter, or X, whatever it's called now, and I get a direct message. So, which is cool. I love talking to people. Person here. It wasn't, hey, Tyson, haven't talked to you in a while. How you been doing? How's your off season going? Nothing like a normal conversation. Like me and you talk, hey man, how you doing? Like, it's like, when are you going to interview me? That's the straight direct message. Not even like a hello, good morning. It's when you're going to interview me. to me, the nice guy that I am, I'm like, hello, Steve. How are you doing today? I'm doing good. When can I be on? So, Bubbs, how would you respond to that kind of direct message if that came to your channel?
I'm not too sure. I've never gotten one of those. So
so now he's basically the point where he demands his own show. He wants his own personal interview, which I've done in the past because they're always fun. But now it's like if you kind of get forced to do something, your natural reaction is you don't want to do it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So we're gonna bring him on. So we'll see what kind of call he has because now he's got a warrant. He's got to earn that own show, right? You can't You can't just be like, I want like who he is. I mean, he lost in beer pong. He's got some questionable calls over the last couple of years.
What's up, guys?
What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Bubbs? How you doing, man? What's going on, Tyson?
You say hi to him. Nice of you.
Well, first of all, hello to you guys. How have you been? What's going on?
How are you, Steve?
What's going on? Well, first of all, Tyson, I should have reworded that right. You're right. I should have reworded that. I apologize for that. Well, first of all, how have you been, man? I've seen you always do the running marathons, man. Are you doing great with that?
Doing good, man. I'm doing real well. Not marathons, like a lot of half marathons and hill races and challenges. I'm doing good, man. I'm just keeping busy. Great weather. Enjoying the summer a little bit,
man. Same here. And Bubbs, how have you been, man?
Doing good. Just watching baseball, but getting ready for the football season. It's almost here, so I'm doing good. Finished up school today, so finally on summer break, which is exciting. More time for golf.
Yeah. No, but listen, guys, I've been watching, for the offseason. I guess the first question I'll ask you guys is, when free agency happened back in March, when we went back to free agency in March, did you guys have your favorite free agency signing back in March?
I mean, I think Tyron Smith surprised me more than anything. Him and Mike Williams both surprised me. Mike Williams coming off an injury was like, all right, that's cool. But Tyron Smith, because like offensive line was paramount, man. You had to upgrade it. Without that, we were screwed. And then Morgan Moses, like both of them caught me by surprise. I'm like, oh, even though it was a trade, like what happened here? Right. So I think they both caught me by. What about you, Bubbs?
Yeah, the timing of them caught me by surprise. They all happened the first night. They were all happening at night. But yeah, I think the biggest surprise for me was Tyron Smith. You kind of heard some reports that he was gonna potentially stay in Dallas or even maybe retire. I just didn't see it happening. Mike Williams, when they brought him in for a visit, I had a pretty good feeling about it, that they were gonna bring him in. I didn't know they would bring him in and not let him leave. But yeah, the biggest, I guess, surprise or the biggest free agent signing for me was Tyron Smith. I mean, bringing in a Hall of Fame left tackle, best left tackle we've had in a decade, just an absolute beast. Like we said, if he could play 12, 13 games, you feel really good about your chances this year. So yeah, I would say Tyron Smith.
Yeah, no, you guys made good points because Tyron Smith was definitely the biggest acquisition in the offseason. I mean, obviously, because the left tackle position was obviously one of the biggest, weakest spots of the offensive line, after from moving on from Becton. And then, you bring in a Hall of Fame talent, like you said. And then obviously the guy we drafted, Olu, in the first round. But, every Jet fan, and Tyson, I remember saying this to you on the day of the draft. And I said to you when I messaged you, do you have a feeling that they're going to take Bowers in the first round? And I even said to myself, you know what? After when we took Olu, I remember all Jet fans were all going nuts and saying, oh, Joe Douglas should be fired because he should have gotten Rodgers another target. But the thing is like, do you understand that our offensive line killed Aaron Rodgers last year? Dwayne Brown missing that assignment, fourth play of the game on Monday Night Football, missing that assignment, ACL tear or Achilles tear. You know what? They made the right pick, and I think.
Yeah, but see, the thing was, like, everybody was asking me. I'm like, when there were so many, when the Jets were linked continuously to Bowers, you knew they didn't want him. That was the giveaway to me. When like the Jets are linked to Bowers, the Jets, like, when it's that blatantly being reported all over everywhere, it's not going to happen. It's just not. If anything, it seemed I was more interested that they tried to trade for Odunze. They tried to trade up and they couldn't get there. But Olu was fine, dude. Like, that's why, like, the free agency reactions day one's like, oh, Joe Douglas is terrible. Like, no, give him a day or two to figure it out. He surprised us. The draft, it's fine. Like, it all made sense to me. I mean, I was hoping for more wide receiver help. Getting, the running backs was kind of back to back. The two running backs was kind of interesting. But I mean, you got to. But see, my question for you, Steve, is screw this draft shit. Tell me what your thoughts are about Hassan Reddick.
Oh, on Hassan Reddick. Okay. The thing is that, listen, I understand, unfortunately, it is a business. Everybody all wants money in this situation, but I think I have a feeling that no matter what happens with his contract situation, I think he will show up for camp on time. The only thing is that you don't show up for camp on time, you're going to get fined.
But what would you do? What would you do
if you don't show up for camp?
Yeah, but it's $50,000 a day, so he's going to show up. But what would you do if you're the Jets? Would you get it? Would you get a deal done? You'd be like, you know what? Play out the year and see what happens when the year is over.
Oh man, no. You know what? That's a good. No, you gotta try and get a deal done, because let's say if you don't get a deal done, then it's gonna be like things are going to get into camp where there's gonna be hopefully wouldn't happen, but drama. And the thing is that unfortunately that this would spoil over the team. And the thing is that the Jet fans are going to say, oh, well, we want Reddick. We need our pass rusher. Get a deal done. It would be almost like the Darrelle Revis situation, back in 2010.
Well, I mean, a little bit different because Revis is actually the Jet that earned it. Reddick has done it somewhere else. And you traded for Reddick when you let Huff walk away, and you traded John Franklin Myers. So
were you more upset when Huff or Franklin Myers left?
I hated both of them.
I was more upset when Huff left.
Dude, let's be honest. I mean, we'll make the show negative for a second. The Jets grossly mishandled Bryce Huff. They didn't want to bring him back. They could have proactively signed him the last 2 years in the offseason and got it done and avoid this whole situation. Once they let him come back this year, and then if you're not going to bring him back, you could have traded him at the trade deadline. You could at least got some kind of compensation.
Did you remember the game in Denver when the announcer we had for that game, Andrew Catalan, said, at one point in the game, he spoke about Bryce Huff and said how Robert Saleh loved him, and Robert Saleh said he would want to get him signed long term. And unfortunately,
look at the Brian Baldinger breakdowns. Like, this was the pass rusher. Like, this is a homegrown talent that literally got better every year in your system. You watched him blossom and grow at a position that is desperately needed. We haven't had pass rushers in forever, right, Bubbs? Like, forever.
Yeah.
Now you have a couple we don't need to pay him.
He got a 10.5 sack year.
Bro, and he's getting better every year. And it's, well, he wanted to play more. Then let him play more. What are you going to do at Reddick? Make him play more? It doesn't. And then the John Franklin Myers things, it pissed me off no end, too, because look at the money he renegotiated for with the Broncos. It wasn't a lot of money. So if you want to say, you know what? We want to keep you here. You're a valued guy in the locker room. We want you to take less money to stay here. He obviously is willing to do it. And now everybody's like, oh, screw him. We don't need him. He's a very good, versatile player. Now, he had some bad penalties. So did C.J. Moses, other guys, too. He's not a perfect player, but he's a very good player that you let walk out the building. So now you got to count on Joe Douglas being spot on with Kinlaw, spot on with these other guys, and hoping that Reddick stays here. But, like, I don't know, man. That's why the Reddick is annoying. Again, Bubbs, that's why Reddick annoys me so much.
The whole Huff situation for me, it always felt like there was a disconnect there, because this guy, he would always play like the fourth quarter of preseason games too.
Always.
Like, just looking back at his entire time as a Jet, it never made any sense the way they utilized this guy. Like, it always felt like there was, I don't know, it just felt like they didn't appreciate him enough. It was weird. Could have got a deal done, never did. Credit to Huff. I mean, he bet on himself, went out there and had a massive season. One of the better, more under the radar edge rushers in football. But this was a guy that, like, every year we play fourth quarter preseason games. It's like, what is he doing out there? It just they mishandled him from on the field to off the field, and it's kind of surprising because you would think Douglas. I mean, this was one of his best finds. UDFA out of Memphis in 2020. You would think he would want to keep one of his guys, and I don't know.
But it's about being proactive, though. Like, that's the kind of thing with Michael Carter II right now, where it's like, we all love him. He's a great player on the rise, 25 years old, coming into his prime. We're really just elevating his game. Take care of him now. Don't be arrogant. Like, you know what? Play through the season. We'll look at it afterwards. Because then I'm like, dude, I'm going to go hit the market. I love the Jets, but you know what I also love? I love money. And I'm going to take as much as I could possibly get, because, that's where you're at that point in your career. He hasn't made a lot. He's made money, but not like that mega money. So Joe Douglas has got to learn from his mistakes and figure it out and keep some of these young players around. So the Huff, John Franklin Myers thing, I hated both those moves. They still piss me off. But you have Reddick. Now, Steve, here's a hot take for you, or a hot question for you. What is your take on Aaron Rodgers missing the mandatory minicamp?
It didn't bother me. It didn't bother me at all because, he was there for the OTAs where he didn't need to. He was there for the voluntary practices. He didn't need to. But the thing is that, listen, as he told the organization, hey, listen, I am doing this important trip or whatever trip he was going on. And you know what? And I'll be in contact with you guys, and basically what's going on. No, listen, it didn't bother me at all. But then the thing is, you get all of these, the thing is, what really pisses me off is these analysis always just for some reason to trash on our team. Like you look at from all of those analysis, in Bubbs, you even saw it too, how they trashed on our team saying, oh, well, Aaron Rodgers is in there. Oh, good. The Jets are not going in the right direction because Aaron Rodgers is not at the mandatory minicamp. It's like, you're serious, right? Yeah. So to me, it's not an issue at all. Not an issue.
There was something that Colin Cowherd, I don't know if you heard it. Colin Cowherd said this week. It just shows you that some of these dudes have no.
Oh my God, he is such a jackass.
Yeah,
he is such a jackass.
Yeah, he said this is what happens when you have a coach with a losing record and a new GM. I'm like, new GM. Douglas came here before COVID.
Yeah, I know. And Bubbs, do you remember this? Remember when he said was right before that season, Adam Gase will and Sam Darnold going to punch my ticket to the AFC Championship? Remember when he said that?
Yeah, he did say that.
Oh my
God.
God.
Was a famous tweet.
He literally has no idea about the game of football. Like I'm going to be very simple with you, Bubbs. That's it. Yeah. He literally has no idea about the game of football. So
yeah. Wait, Steve, first of all, thank you for calling in, but before we let you go, what is your official Gangrene Steve-O record prediction for the year?
I'm going 11-6.
Does that win the AFC East?
Yes.
Oof. You think so, Bubbs? Now, based on this conversation we had with Steve, does that warrant his own interview, or is it kind of like, not really any good, kind of mediocre takes?
I thought he brought it tonight. I thought it was good.
Thank you, Bubbs.
Call from Steve.
Nice. Thank you, Bubbs.
Steve, I'll text you, man. We'll
hey, man, no problem, man. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care. He cracks me up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I saw something in the chat talking about two out of the media with the Giants.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. They don't get anything. They are one of the most boring teams in football. They get they're not going to do anything. They get nothing.
Yeah, but dude, hold on.
They act like
bro. Hold on. No. The Jets want this. When you have Aaron Rodgers and you have Sauce Gardner and you have Breece Hall, and these guys are all super active on social media, they want all the smoke. The Jets want it. They literally wanted it last year at Hard Knocks. They burned all this on themselves, but now it's like you could talk it, but now you've got to walk it, and they didn't walk it last year. They completely fell apart. So they're they're in the same boat again this year, where it's like you've got to earn it. You've got you got to win now. Like you can't talk anymore. I'm hoping they learn from their Hard Knocks experience. You know what I mean? But there's let's see, we got here.
Yeah, I mean, Woody loves it. He wants to be loves the primetime games, more money in his pockets.
If JD signed Huff last year, it would have been a cheaper deal, and then he had a big season, and pass rushers getting the money, and then would hold out. I mean, no, if you sign Huff to a big contract last year, he's not going to hold out. You have him in the fold for the next 4 or 5 years. Yeah. That's why you want to be proactive with Michael Carter. That's like the other comment is I think Michael Carter second is a cap hit issue. How? You can't pay him and keep him? No, you can 100% keep Michael Carter to second. Like that's how you create cap space.
Yeah, I think they'll keep. Yeah, I mean, and to the Huff point, I mean, he would have been fine. I mean, he would have played out last year, and the deal would have kicked in this year, 3-4 year deal, whatever it was. That's when they should have got the deal done. But I mean, like you said, they should have got it done 2 years ago because you saw the trajectory he was on. But
so now we got our good friend Armand. Armand, you got to message me, man. I'm going to all kinds of concerts. Where are you going? Last Wednesday was my 26-month weight loss anniversary. I lost 2 pounds for a total of 192 pounds. So he weighs 292. I could not do it without the support from this crazy community. Bro, that's insane.
Wow.
You lost almost 200 pounds. That's insane. Congratulations, awesome, man. That's just incredible.
See, he's got the new profile pic, the Mets rally guy.
The grimace.
Yeah.
So Hall or Wilson, who will be a bigger impact?
Breece
Hall.
Yeah, I think Breece.
Yep.
He's just what he does. I mean, this guy, you're basically getting a receiver and a running back. I mean, that's how good he is. I mean, he's not better than CMC yet, but this is a guy that has CMC level talent where he's just a game breaker. He's just such a monster. Yep. I think Breece Hall. I think it's so tough to rank like the best players on the team when I think Hall's at his best. He's the best player on the offense. I think probably best player on the team. It's tough. It's tough. It's a lot of talent to kind of rank it all, but I would say Hall is the bigger impact.
I think Hall's a bigger impact. I think the offense he built around him about the running game, catching the ball at the backfield. Garrett Wilson's going to get his numbers. I think Hall's going to have a monster year just so they can offset just Rodgers throwing the ball 45, 50 times a game. If he's going to throw the ball 25 to 30, run the ball a ton and offset it there. So I'm glad he called back in because I was trying to get him on, but Steve kept talking, so I couldn't do it. What's up, man?
Oh, dude, long time no see. How are you?
Been good. How you been?
Been okay. I'm on lunch right now. Sorry, like my phone call dropped. My phone like overheated for some reason, and I was like, "You got to be fucking."
It was all of Steve's hot takes.
Probably, yeah. You know, so yeah, I'm back, man, dude. It's good. I'm happy to see that you've been pretty active with all the different like phone calls with Jake and everybody. So it's good that the channel's been good. Bubbs, good job on your channel, man. That kind of came out of nowhere. I was like Bubbs on sports, and then I see you on there, so that's cool, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Look where Bubbs started to where he's at now. The guy's like a rising star. It's like Michael Carter II right there.
He's gonna be rivaling Let's Talk Jets Radio and everybody soon.
Good for him. I can quit then. That'd be perfect.
Right? How's Kevin, by the way, too? I haven't seen him in a minute.
Me neither, man. I haven't talked to him either. I've been so busy with so many things. I'm just like the off season kind of just do your own thing. You know what I mean? Like do streams and just hanging out, and that's really it. But now, how are you doing, man? What was your take on this Rodgers thing? Were you like upset, or were you like, you know what, the Reddick story is a bigger one?
Who cares? Like, he can do whatever he wants. He changed the culture. I mean, we had a pretty terrible organization. He came in, and then now everybody cares about like trying to do their best. So if he wants to take 2 days, who honestly cares? As long as he's there for the mandatory training camp, like that's the big thing, right? So it's 2 days. We got Tyrod Taylor. We've got a lot of veterans. Like, yeah, it's fine. Take 2 days. It's not the world's not going to end. So yeah.
So are you concerned about Reddick at all?
Not too much. I'm sure they're going to work out the deal. I mean, personally, a lot of this could have been avoided if they just signed Bryce Huff back in the day. I mean, throughout the season, you even said, like, dude, when are they going to sign him? Yep. So had they done it, they would have honestly had a lot more wiggle room with money. We would have kept Quentin Jefferson, JFM. So, I mean, a lot of it's kind of done, you know, JD kind of did it to himself. But, I mean, we have a replacement. I know he'll get it done. It's just when is it going to happen? But I think it'll be done before training camp. I think there's just no way. Like, we have to have all hands on deck when it comes to that because we got to have everybody gel together before the season starts. So, yeah. that has to happen, and I think it will. So, now, and he deserves to get paid. So, yeah.
So I'll go to Bubbs next. But what is it's an exciting offseason, man. We were all kind of defeated last year, but they bounced back with some huge signings. Tyron Smith, Mike Williams, Morgan Moses, an interesting draft class. Are you fully bought back in with the return of Rodgers? Where you're like, you know what? I'm ready for you're ready for a big run, like going after the AFC East, or are you still kind of skeptical where you're like, you got to see to believe it?
I'm a little bit more on that, kind of like with you. I'll believe it when I see it type of thing. Because I mean, we've bought in so many times. But I think this season will be a lot more special. I think a lot of the mistakes that happened, I think, was a real eye opener for a lot of the top people in the organization and the coaching. Now Robert Saleh is going to get involved in the offense, which is good. He should have been doing this for years, but now he has to step into that. That's good. I think Hackett will clean up a little bit. I don't have a lot of faith, but I think he'll fix some of the things. But you have Aaron Rodgers there, which he'll offset a lot of that, which shouldn't be his job. But, I mean, it is what it is. I think overall the coaches will clean up a little bit. We have a lot of veterans. I do think we're going to do a much better job this year. A lot of the people that clown on us, I think they're going to eat their words this season. That's my honest opinion. So
what? How many wins?
13-4.
Ooh. I like that.
Bubs. Go ahead, Bubbs.
Yep.
I like that.
No, 11-6, 12-5, 13-4. And I think the teams that we lose, like I'd have to look at the schedule, but I think they're going to be really close. I think they're going to be really competitive.
Yeah, I mean, we said similar to things last year, like about this team going in every game. You can make every single game on their schedule. You're going to go in there with, I'm not saying they're going to 17-0, but from a 13-4 perspective, I mean, you're going to go into every single game this year with a chance to win. As long as you got Rodgers healthy, you're going to have a chance to win every single game. And your toughest opponent you get in week 1, which is what you want. You're better off playing San Francisco. I actually think, I know a lot of people look at the Jets schedule and think it's rough with all the primetime games. You have all the short weeks, which, the 2 road games to start. But I actually look at it as I thought they got a pretty good break, actually, where you don't have to go fly out west to San Francisco in December where you're banged up. You're kind of just limping a little bit to the finish line. You get them right out of the gate. And hey, look, we want the primetime spotlight. If this team's as good as they say they are, then go out there and take down San Fran on the road. That'd be a massive statement. So
I'm not worried about this season at all. I think it's going to put a lot of the teams on notice. I think we can compete with anybody, honestly. Nothing worries me at all. I think with the season, I think maybe like one concern is just probably the receivers. I think with us getting a bunch of the new coaches like Tony Dews, maybe the Jets are going to maybe lean more into like more of a running back, like run focused offense, just to kind of offset like any of the issues with like our receivers, right? Alan Lazard and stuff like that. So maybe going that route will kind of like maybe let the receivers kind of gel a little bit more. And then that's when you start to see them getting a little bit more active, because we've invested a lot of youth in the running back position. Yeah. So, and it's really competitive too. We have Hall, we've got Allen, Davis, Izzy, and then you have Cohen, who's going to be the kick returner, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. I think that's where we're going to lean more towards. I think Ian said it like many months ago that it's almost kind of like you're going the Tennessee Titan route, kind of really more focused on just the run game. So I think that'll be cool. I think, and that'll kind of offset at least a little bit of the issues with a lot of the dead money that we have, and then hopefully that can kind of fix itself a little bit more, so then we can start getting. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not great with formulating words, man. So my bad about
Me
that.
Me neither.
Yeah. So that's kind of just my opinion on it. Yeah, 13-4, a lot of run focused stuff, and I think later on that's when you're going to start to see the monsters like when we go on. I personally, I'm not opposed to us playing the Niners, but I really wanted to play either the Texans. I think that would have been a really fun game to watch, like beginning of the season. Or the Dolphins. I want to beat the Dolphins in warm weather, so we can beat them in their own element. And then once we get into the colder weather, that'll be easy. And I think the only team we lose against once is the Bills. I think we beat the Dolphins 2-0. The Patriots are a non-factor, and I think Buffalo is going to be one of our losses.
Well, that's
going to be competitive too.
Well, that's what has to happen if you want to go 13-4. Yeah. That's kind of your blueprint.
Yep. The trolling the Dolphins did with the Quinnen Williams dance. They're going to eat their words this year. Yeah,
I hope so
for sure.
I always say that, like, it's not that I didn't want to play San Francisco week 1. I wanted that home game again. I really wanted week 1 home game, like replicate that Rodgers run out of the tunnel again, like whoever it was against. But
I think didn't Boomer Esiason report that the Jets requested to be on the road? The Jets requested to start the season on the road. I think according to Boomer Esiason a couple days ago, which I thought was absurd. I'm like, what? Like, no, like it's just their superstition. I don't know what it was, but that was weird.
Bring it, Niners. We can take them. We can hang with the best teams now this year. So
what are you
ready for it.
So what are you doing for the summer? Anything good? Where are you stationed at right now?
Yeah, I'm still in Japan, man. I'm in the process of picking a new place. I'm trying to stay here. Just for like family stuff. Not too many places, honestly, this summer. I'm finishing up college right now because I'm doing a lot of online stuff. So it's like tough career, family, and then you have to do like with whatever little bit of time left, just focusing on online school. But I'll get my both my associates and my bachelor's in August, which is cool because I've been putting off my math class for months. So now I'm finally getting. I hate math so much. So, but Course Hero's been super clutch. So I've been using everything that I can just to kind of help get through it. So,
dude, best of luck out there. Stay in touch. Great to hear from you, man. It's good to get back in the routine of a call-in show. So good to see you.
Yeah, for sure, man. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Keep doing great stuff, man. And yeah, dude, let's fucking do it this year. Catch you guys later.
Later, man. We're so freaking good at this point. So now, some quick questions here. Do I have a Discord community? I don't know what the hell a Discord community even is. I suck with technology. Bubbs, do you have one?
I do, just for the thing, like for my writing stuff, but I don't like. I don't have a community now. I'm in one, but I don't use it a ton.
I couldn't even tell.
It's just like it's pretty much just like a big chat with a ton of people, and I think you could do calls and stuff. I'm not too advanced, but I don't know. It's like a big chat room.
Armand is going to Slipknot at MSG on August 12th. Their new drummer is badass, man. That guy. I mean, they're just phenomenal. I mean, they've always been a great band. Their new drummer is phenomenal. So freaking good. We had a question for you. It was where the hell is it? You've been watching Bubbs' channel. Oh, here you go. Will you be doing live shows this summer?
Yes, I will be. I'll be doing some, yeah.
Okay, there you go. We got that. Did anybody watch the US Open? I actually did.
Yeah.
Rory McIlroy choked big time.
I could hit that putt.
That's just crazy.
I'm happy
What's
for
up, Valen?
DeChambeau, though.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for joining us too, man. This has kind of been like impromptu, been bouncing around a lot with days and times and doing shows with Ian. The show with Ian, we're doing Tuesdays at 7:00. We're taking a couple weeks off though, because my schedule is ridiculous right now. So I think starting July 9th, we'll be back doing those. So me and him are on Tuesdays at 7. Let's see. Start a Discord. Oh my God. When do random man? How about you start it and I just join it? Have you done any Twitter Spaces, Bubbs? I haven't done those either.
I've never really done one on my own. No, I'm not a Twitter Space. Like I said, I'm on the Discord, but I'm not on the. I've only done like a couple for.
Yeah, I don't have time, dude. Like I think it's like people calling, you could talk and not talk. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah,
man. Like
Twitter Space. It's basically, it's just like a giant group chat except you're talking as opposed to typing. That's the way I view it. And there's like a host that can kind of mute everybody.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
Yeah.
If you guys want to start a Discord, go for it, man. Yeah, Tuesdays with Ian will be Tuesdays at 7:00 starting July 9th. So that'll be from July 9th till the end of the season. We'll be every Tuesday. So we had to kind of figure out a time that worked for both of us, and that's where we're at. So and thank you guys for supporting us over there too. It's been fun. No sleeveless hoodies are happening. Let's see. A Discord with this chat would be absolute mayhem. We may have to look into this, man.
It's yeah, with this chat it probably would be crazy.
So give me a couple. We have one more caller, but give me some notes on your channel because, dude, you killed it tonight. So when do you go live? What are you doing over there?
Yeah, so over on my channel, I just been doing. I was doing kind of New York sports talk, but then I primarily just shifted to just strictly Jet stuff. So just Jet stuff, updates, videos after news, games, previews, recaps. During the training camp, we'll do recaps after each practice. Plan on getting out to a couple practices this year.
Nice.
And then also I'll start up a player preview series where I'll kind of in July, just a couple weeks out from the season, I'll go like 2 players, 3 days a week, each day, just breaking down what to expect from them. So looking forward to that. July, August, pretty big month. And then, once season starts, just game previews, recaps, hopefully a lot of wins. That's the hope. So I don't know, over there at Bubbs on Sports. And appreciate you having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
Of course. No, this is awesome. To me, it's like this from like now, it's like the June 17th to like July 17th is brutal, dude. There is literally nothing to talk about. And I don't want to make videos because I'm like, I don't want you don't want to force content. We're like, oh, who are the top 10 players on the team and what color sneakers they're going to wear? And like, I can't do it. Here you got one though. Bubbs, looking ahead. So you're a special guest now. Any thoughts on signing our big 4? Is it possible? And who would be the odd man out? I got my take on this one. So you got Sauce, Garrett, Jermaine, Brees.
Yeah, I think like if I had to pick an odd man out, I think it would be Brees Hall. Just because the way the running back market is these days. Not that I want that. I want them to keep it. I want them to kind of keep it. I know that was, I think you called it big 4. I kind of used it. I think a lot of people use the term too, the core 4 with the Yankees. Like ideally, this is your group that you win with for the next 5 to 10 years. But I think if there would be one guy left out, it'd probably be Brees, just because the way the running back is these days. That's me. I mean, it could be Jermaine, but I think it'd probably be Brees. I think you're gonna lock. There's no doubt lock. Sauce and Garrett are 100%. But and then 2 with some of these other young running backs, I can kind of see them just like rotating, like Brees. If he moves on, then you have Allen next up, and like you can keep drafting and kind of just that's the way I view it. But if there was one guy, I'd be Brees, strictly because of the way the running back market is these days. And I guess too, the injury with the torn ACL, ideally he stays healthy the rest of his career. But
I mean, you're going to give
else would to pop up.
You're going to give Sauce record-breaking money.
Yeah,
record-breaking money position. Garrett Wilson, you've been dying for number 1 receiver forever. You got to keep that guy. Jermaine Johnson, pass rushers are at a premium. You got to keep guys like that. Unfortunately, Brees, as great as he is a luxury item. He is like, all right, running backs, we can get away with having a lesser tier running back. We can't get away with not having a number one receiver. We've already learned that lesson for the past decade. So the guys like that, you got to keep. And it's unfortunate, but that's like, that's why you've got to win this year and why you've got to win next year. This is your window right here. This is it. Yeah. Because after this, you got no quarterback and you have a lot of money you got to pay out.
Yeah. And I look at like the Jets right now are where the Bengals were 2 years ago, where they had Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, all those guys in the rookie deals. Now you look what the Bengals are going through. They're going through, they had a Burrow contract. T. Higgins just signed the franchise tag. It took a lot for him to put pen to paper on that thing. So then you have the Jamar Chase contract as well. Like they're starting to need to break up. They moved, Boyd, he left in free agency, so they've already lost some talent. Like, that was their time to win. Similar with the Jets here, your time is to win. Your time to win is now. Ideally this year, where they're all on rookie contracts before those deals start to kick in next year, where Sauce will get paid, Garrett as well, Jermaine, Brees, all those guys will be up. But and look, I want to see Brees back. I just think the way the running back market is these days,
he's gonna want. He's gonna want to break records.
If his numbers are like CMC, he's gonna want it's gonna be it would be similar to Sauce. It'd be historic.
No, this is their window. And you also got to keep in mind too, like you gotta hope like Olu plays out. You're gonna need offensive line help too. Like you got to deal with AVT, who's gonna be the right tackle. That's why like this is it. Like I'll keep saying it. This is your 2-year window to figure it out and win as many games as humanly possible, because after that, you have so many freaking questions. Who's the quarterback? Who's the coach? What are we going to do? It becomes a mess, man. It's the risk you take going in all in. Like they went all in. That's the risk you take. It can ideally it ends up in a championship, but the other side of it is you're stuck here in 2 years with Jordan Travis, a new coach, and a lot of question marks. And I don't know what Jordan Travis is going to be, but all I know is we have a Hall of Famer now, and that's your time to win. You can't. Yeah, and the mention is we don't need 27 superstars. We become spoiled somehow. San Francisco is now dealing with Deebo Samuel and Ayuk too. Both these guys, they may have to cut Deebo. Ayuk's not ready for a new deal. They can't afford him. So they put their money with CMC. It's pick your poison sometimes. And that's, to me, it's like I'd rather you want Sauce and Garrett, and you love Brees, but it's just, to me, it's like their positions are much more valuable, I think, to this team.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. And San Francisco is a really good point, because it feels like this is their final year of that big three. It feels like one of Ayuk or Deebo is going to be out next year, maybe both, because they really like Juwan Jennings too over there.
Yep, I agree.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them.
And then it comes down to Woody Johnson's got to spend the money too. Woody Johnson, who tends to be frugal, where he gives Joe Douglas a budget where it's like, all right, all that money out of pocket, the actual cash he's got to pay, he's actually got to commit to that. Is he willing to do that? He's never really done that in the past. He's done somewhat Aaron Rodgers, but now he's got to do, for what he's done over the past decade, he's got to do a lot more. And he's a cheap dude. So got some things to prove there as well. So now we've done an hour and a half, which is crazy. I thought we'd do like 45 minutes.
I am curious. Sorry. I am curious one thing. Like, if they won the Super Bowl, how long would you be okay with them, let's say, struggling?
Bro, a decade. I can get you.
You couldn't care.
Dude, look how much we've suffered.
Yeah.
Like all we've been through to finally win it all. It's like you could just exhale. Like, I don't care who the quarterback is, the coach. Yeah, you just for like at least a couple of years, just celebrate, dude. Like, I wouldn't even care.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even get mad. Like, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Especially like, let's just say they win this year, right? And then Rodgers would come back next year. And let's say they lose like the divisional round. I wouldn't even care. No. It's like you got to the playoffs 2 years. You won a Super Bowl. I mean, it'd be. You could throw Jordan Travis out there for 10 years and he could look like Zach. I think you'd probably be fine with a lot of Jets fans would be okay with it.
Yeah, like if they won the Super Bowl this year and Aaron Rodgers retires, next they can win 5 games and retire Taylor. I wouldn't even care.
Yeah.
I literally would not care. This would be the happiest channel in the world. I'd be like, today's a good day. Jets won a Super Bowl. Like, I would like similar to the Eagles fans when they won, but they won. They were crazy. They got mad like 6 weeks later. Not me, dude.
Yeah, Eagles. Yeah, they're crazy. I totally agree. We would just have the Canyon Heroes Parade just go on forever. So have them keep rounding it.
Yeah, and whenever the Jets start losing, go back to I'll watch Super Bowl again. Just watch the highlights of the Super Bowl victory.
Yep.
You know, instead of looking at Joe Namath, we're looking at Joe Namath highlights every year. It's like, come on, man. Like we can
and I'll say this too. I mean, I don't remember it. Like, I don't remember it because I was just too young. But the highlights too of obviously Namath, the highlights 98, and then even the highlights of Bart Scott. Can't wait. Like those are all old. They're so old now. Like you just don't get that same. It's just they need fresh. They need something new. They need new.
Yeah, like our biggest highlight was Brandon Marshall, 2015? Like, and that's even that's friggin' what?
The Eric, I always say it, the Eric Decker touchdown against the Patriots in overtime was my still to this day, my best moment as a Jet fan. And then the next week, they went up to Buffalo and lost to Rex Ryan.
I was there for that.
The Jets, yeah. That was brutal. I was at a friend's house who's a huge Bills fan. I've never been more, I've never was so cocky and then so humbled 3 hours later. All week, I was like, this is it. We're going to the playoffs. This is amazing. We beat New England. There's no Bills were terrible. Ugh.
Bro, we tailgated so arrogantly in Buffalo.
Yeah.
We were talking so much trash. Like Rex is, stick it to Rex. We're gonna win in Buffalo. We're gonna coach a playoff spot. And we walked out of that stadium so humbled and so disgusted. I'm like, the Jets did it again. They literally did it to us again, where they just kicked us in the nuts one more time on the grand stage when the Buffalo Bills had nothing to gain. Like their whole goal was to disappoint us. And the weird thing was, when we got in the stadium and we saw the Jets warming up, we all said to each other, like, this is bad. They looked overconfident. They looked a little flat. They looked like, you know what? We're going to go on the field, win the game. No big deal. They literally looked like that. We were like, wow, they look like they're kind of like chilling. And I was like, this is going to be one of these days.
Yeah.
And sure as hell, the Fitzpatrick stuff. And
it's interesting because you look back and some of the players even said they weren't even prepared for that game. Bulls didn't even prepare. They were already looking ahead. There's like 3 moments the last decade that this year we could just forget about. The Pittsburgh loss was brutal, of course, AFC title game. The Victor Cruz touchdown was, just gut-wrenching. That feels like ever since then, everything's gone downhill. And in the Buffalo loss, like those 3 games, I feel like have just, like anytime we've gotten close, after those 3 games, everything just went downhill. I mean,
I went to all 3 of those. Yeah. I was at all 3 of those.
You were at the Cruz game. Wow. So it ruined the holiday.
Christmas Eve. It pissed me off. I was so mad. I went the whole, because we have a big family Christmas dinner, like a big family dinner, all this shit. I had to sit at the kids' table because my family's mostly Giant fans. So I knew coming back was going to be a disaster anyway. I was angry, had half in the bag. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to sit the adults. I will sit with the kids because I don't want to deal with this nonsense. And then the Pittsburgh game was just, I don't think I talked for like 3 days after that one. That was so
What was like, I don't want to be negative, but what was like worse for you? The Denver or Pittsburgh? Denver
100%. Now Pittsburgh was worse because I was there. Denver was
you were there?
Yeah, I was in Pittsburgh.
Oh wow.
That. Yeah. Yep.
Wow. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I went to Indy too. I saw both championship game losses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, good time. But Denver was bad because that team was amazing, dude. You have Parcells, Belichick, Keyshawn, Corbett. I mean, they were steamrolling people, and you knew if they won that game, they're beating the Falcons. They were to beat them earlier that season. Yeah. The team was just that good on so many levels, man. And you think about it, the next year going into it, they're the favorites to win a Super Bowl too because everybody was coming back. Then Vinny got hurt, but that one hurt, dude, because they had 6 turnovers, like guys that never fumbled. Like it was like Byers, Meggett, Curtis Martin. Vinny threw a terrible. It was like there's so many things went wrong that were so just uncharacteristic. That was brutal, dude. Yeah. I didn't talk for like a week. I was so just heartbroken because you knew the opportunity that was in front of him. Like you have Bill Parcells here, like one of the best coaches of all time, and his team fell apart in the championship game. Like you start thinking it's a curse. Like you can't be this can't be true, you know?
Yeah. No, yeah, it's. I totally agree. I mean, and two, like you make a point, like they would have went on to win that. You felt like the 2 years because neither Indy or Pittsburgh went on to win, so you felt like those 2 years in 2009, 2010. They probably would have lost to the Saints and in Green Bay, I would say. I mean, they felt like those 2 teams were destined.
Yeah, that 98 team was loaded, dude. Loaded. Yeah. I mean, they were playing such a high level. They could win so many different ways. They could throw the ball. They could run it. The defense with Brian Cox. It was just, that was a tough one. Yeah. Again, like the Pittsburgh game was rough because you give Sanchez the ball. You figure one more series, you're probably going to win the game. The Colt game was just injuries fell apart, but it's just, they haven't been close since, which is pretty pathetic if you're being honest. Yeah,
This is the year.
and this is true. Like this is how the Rangers look at the Rangers, the Knicks. Look at the Knicks.
Brutal.
When healthy, the Knicks were one of the best teams in the NBA, right? They were, and then it's like injury after injury. You're like, oh, the what if?
Always tease. Always, I always say with the Rangers are like always teasing, never pleasing. They get there every year, they lose it, and then Jets. I mean, this is the year. This is the year where this changes.
Tyson, do you think the Jets would have beaten the Vikings, who should have won against? Yeah, that's because Favre took a beating. Wasn't that was that the Favre year? He took a beating. Oh, no, that was the Colts. This is the Jets would have beaten the Vikings, who should have won against the Falcons. I do, because that was the Morton Anderson game, right? Who missed the kick? I gotta remember this. It goes back. I forget. I gotta think about that one. I think the Jets were slow.
Didn't Denver destroyed Atlanta, right? Wasn't it like 35 to like 34 to like 19 or something? It was something crazy. They blew them out.
I gotta go back. Sneakers and boots. I gotta go look that up. I gotta look at that team. But I remember it was just the Falcons. They would whoop their ass. So we're gonna do one more call and we can wrap this up. Our cleanup hitter, who I have not talked to in probably I don't know, 6 months. What's up, man?
Guys, Bob, how are you? How are you guys?
Doing great. How you doing, man? You gotta fix your camera. We can't see you.
Oh, well, I can't do that.
Your title's too long. Your thing's too long. You're a celebrity.
Hey, how are you guys?
We're doing good, man. How's your off season been?
Good.
How you liking your Seahawks?
I like the new coach. I'm gonna miss Pete Carroll, but I like the new coach. I like him a lot. Bubbs is making me feel old when he brings up Bart.
Oh.
Because when that happened, I was in high school. Now I'm 30.
You're 30?
About to be 31. On Sunday.
You look about 24.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. I've lost weight.
Bubbs, how old are you?
I'm 18.
Oh, shit. I think the first time I met you, you weren't even driving yet, right?
No. That was what? 2, 3? 3, yeah. I think it was like right out of COVID. Was it COVID?
Yeah,
no, it was like right after COVID. Yeah.
Shout out to Armin for losing.
So wait, are you really doing shout outs now already? You're on here 5 minutes. You're doing shout outs?
Hey. I'm just doing one. To Armin for losing 200.
Yeah, 200 pounds he lost. That's pretty crazy.
That is amazing.
It is amazing.
Round of applause to him.
So what are you doing this summer, man? Anything good?
Going to once I get this chair fixed, I'll go to the beach and go at the chicks like a perfect.
Going after the ladies, are you?
Of course. I've been single for almost 10 years.
Well, you're working on improving yourself. You're working on your game a little bit.
That's true. Hey, look, I gotta get you on my channel. Everyone else has been on my channel except you. Gotta get you on.
So yeah, I like how. So wait, we haven't talked to Jose in like 6 months. He says hello. He talks about his dating profile, and now he's giving you invites to the show. See how he rolls? This is how he rolls now.
No.
Yep. 100%. That's how.
Listen, at least give me this much.
What?
I'm not asking you to enter I'm not demanding an interview.
That's true. That's what Steve did. That's true. That's very true.
That's true.
He gave me demands.
Hey, Jason,
Yes.
I do have one question for you.
I got one answer for you.
What the hell happened to Conor McGregor?
He got hurt.
Is that like for real or was that?
Nah, it's for real, dude, because this was International Fight Week, man. This is like the UFC's biggest week. They had so many events aligned out. They had a press conference in Ireland. He's legitimately hurt because now the problem is they don't have a place to put the fight. They're not going to put it in the Sphere. They have the pay-per-view dates for the rest of the year lined up already. Like, there's no – they want the McGregor card to be like that standalone mega fight. There's really no place for it now. I guess it's legit. I mean, I think Chandler's going to whoop his ass anyway, but it's unfortunate. I was looking forward to it at least. I mean, what do you think, Bubbs? I think it's real. I think it's just really, really unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree. I was interested to see what it would, how it would play out. But yeah, I think it's that other, I can't pronounce his name. The guy that's fighting him now.
They replaced it. It's now Pereira's fighting.
It's Pereira versus who's the dude that he was supposed to fight?
Yep,
yeah,
it's a rematch. Yep, and they have Ortega versus Lopez, and then they have Anthony Smith versus the other guy. The card's still good. It's just not. It's not a
big name.
Yeah, and they're not going to do.
McGregor.
Yeah, they're not going to put him on the same card as John Jones at MSG. They want him to have his own, like. To me, the Sphere would be the perfect thing, but they don't want to do it apparently because it's already.
If he loses, will it be his last fight?
Nope. No, what's going to happen is McGregor's going to get smoked by Chandler. He's going to go into boxing. He'll go into bare knuckle, which he's a part owner of now, and he'll just do all kinds of. He's must see, dude. He's a showman. He's a good boxer, so he'll make money doing that. We'll all tune in.
Let me rephrase though. If he gets beat, will it be his last fight in the cage?
Nope. I think he'll do
in the UFC.
Nope. I think he'll do one more against Nate Diaz before they book it.
As long as it's not against Poirier.
Nah, Poirier's done, dude. Nobody wants to see that anymore. But I think him and Nate Diaz can sell it. I mean, what do you think, Bubbs? I think that's something that before he retires, they do the trilogy fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Didn't it?
And I would pay money. And I would pay money to see it.
Didn't you see Islam? You talking about seeing Islam training, right?
Yeah, dude. I was on the elliptical, and Khabib got in the treadmill in front of me, and you're like, well, this is just. They were all there. It was them. It was Islam, Khabib, Bilal Muhammad was training with him. Yeah, they were there. They were at school for like 3 weeks. It was insane.
You're lucky bastard.
Yeah, I mean that's just a different level of love. It's just a different level.
I say that with love. I say that with love.
His reaction time must have been nuts, right?
Yeah, like, it's just wild, dude. To watch them train, even Bilal Muhammad, watching them train, it was just really interesting. I mean, like they're all really nice, really respectful. I mean, they were being swarmed by everybody. Like people were sitting outside their school trying to stalk them for autographs and stuff and all kinds of crazy stuff. But
so how did they get out?
Well, they started parking in the back, and then I guess just there's ways to get around it. We had to tell them, listen, you can't sit in the parking lot and stalk these guys. It's just nothing cool about it. But they would take pictures and sign autographs. But they want to get in, get out. They don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Got their routine and stuff.
Yeah, but that was just incredible, man.
Sounds like Kobe Bryant.
Yep. I mean, Khabib is just he walks in, he's like an intimidating presence. Like, you're just like, oh, shit,
Yeah.
He's pretty cool.
Well,
Jose, we're gonna wrap this up, Jose. I'm tired.
Okay, guys.
Good talking to you, man.
But DM you on Twitter or whatever it's called. I'll DM
X.
Yeah,
I'll DM you.
Have a good night, Jose.
Names now.
All right. Good night, guys.
Love you, man. Later.
Much love. Later.
All right, Bub, you survive.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
So, do you have any parting shots as we wrap up this almost 2-hour show?
No, just appreciate you having me on. It was a lot of fun. Would love to do it again sometime.
Of course.
And 11-6, 12-5, 13-4.
Give out your channel. How do they find you on YouTube?
Oh yeah, YouTube is just Bubbs on Sports. Jets content, like I said, news, updates, game previews, recaps, training camp stuff. We'll be starting up soon, of course, in about a month. So A lot of good stuff there, and
smart move going to just the Jets, dude. Covering all New York sports is way too much. I was wondering if you're because it's just you can't get every angle of it. It's too much.
Yeah, and I noticed too, just football is so much more popular. Like I noticed too, from a viewership standpoint, like people aren't going to care about nothing against, I don't know, the Mets, but people aren't going to care about the Mets playing poor in May.
Nope.
Football is 365 days a year.
This is really look at the season. This is really the only down period, like a little part of June.
Yeah.
Other than that, the entire year you can find something to talk about. Mini camp,
Draft.
OTAs, the draft, free agency, the Jets
even the
always find a way
Senior Bowl.
The Jets find a way to screw something up.
Oh yeah, they're always something. We had the bombshell report. Remember that? Like 2 weeks after the season, on like a Tuesday, just out of the middle of nowhere, there's that bombshell report. So that gave people content for days. You can look at it every angle and twist and turn it however you like. So yeah, I mean, they're never a dull moment with them. There's always something. I'm sure there'll be something. I mean, the Hassan Reddick thing too. Yeah, that's something that's kind of hanging over. So maybe they get something done soon, which will give them something to.
We'll do like camp battles in like early July, man. You can't do that in June. It's like you let the dust settle a little bit, and then early July start doing like the training camp battles, position battles, stuff like that. Bubbs should replace Tyson's short coat. Damn, Matthew. It's not nice. All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Just remember, July 9th, I'll be back with Ian. We're doing every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. We're figuring out which channel we're going to do it on. Monday night shows will be back. We're doing all this stuff. It's kind of a quiet time now. So we're kind of hanging out and just doing whatever. So thank you guys for joining us, Bubbs. Thank you. And we'll talk to you guys later. All right.